Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing yet another author request video. And in this video I am going to be reviewing Seeing Things by Sonora Taylor. Before I get into it, I just want to gently touch on that I do want to apologise that in previous videos I was mispronouncing her name, so apologies for that. So I became aware of Sonora after watching one of Nikki's videos from Dark Between Pages where she did a whole video dedicated on Sonora. And I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I actually liked what Sonora had to say. I liked the overall video as a whole. If I can find it, I will have it linked down below. And based on that one video, I reached out to Sonora and I contacted her saying that, I watched your video on Nikki's channel and I'm a booktuber as well and I wouldn't mind reading and reviewing your novel. And shortly after that, she got back to me and she said basically that's great, and she sent me a free copy of not just Seeing Things but Someone to Share My Nightmares on my Kindle, and that was really kind of her, that really was. And also on top of that, she's also going to be sending me a signed copy of Someone to Share My Nightmares, so super excited to receive that. So before I get into this video and tell you what Seeing Things is all about, let's just go straight over to Sonora now, where she'll be telling you a little bit about this book as a whole.
Hi, I'm Sonora Taylor, and I want to thank David very much for reviewing and discussing Seeing Things. So, Seeing Things is my third novel, and it's about a girl named Abby who can see the dead, but realizes that none of them want to talk to her. I actually got the idea while I would walk to work through my old neighborhood, and I would see this elderly gentleman walking by, and no one ever acknowledged him. He never acknowledged anyone else. And, my imagination got to working as it does on walks. And I'm thinking, like, what if this were actually like a spirit, walking through and maybe only I could see him? I knew that wasn't the truth, but this was just me imagining things. But then from there, I thought it would be pretty funny if, like, someone realized they could see the dead, but none of them wanted to talk to them. So I started writing a short story around that idea, got stuck on it, set it aside for a couple of years, and then a couple years later, when I was done with my previous short story collection, Little Paranoias, I started thinking about Abby's story a little more and expanding it into a novel. So if you want to check it out, the novel is called Seeing Things, and it's available on Amazon as well as other online book retailers. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Sonora, and if you want to contact this wonderful author, please don't hesitate to reach out to her like I did. I will have a bunch of contact information down below, so once again, do not hesitate to reach out to her. She is really kind and sweet and really laid back and really easy to actually talk to. So before I go any further, guys, as always, this is going to be a spoiler-free video and this is going to be my own thoughts and feelings regarding this novel. And I know that some of you may be saying, well, David, you're going to give it a high score anyway because you want to please the author and make her happy. That isn't going to be the case here, guys. As I do in all my videos, I'm going to give you my honest reactions and opinions. Just a little bit of a heads up, this book was awesome. So, this book was so enjoyable to me, it literally grabbed me from the very first sentence and didn't let me go until I finished the book. I'm not joking, this was a page turner if ever there was one. I was hooked, I wanted to know what happened, I cared about the characters, and it was a bit scary and gory, but not too much. But I just want to read you the very first sentence of this book, just so it gives you that experience, and quite possibly it might get you hooked on buying this book as well. So, chapter 1. One thing that Abby learned about growing up was that there was a lot of blood involved. See, what's an interesting way to actually hook you onto the story. So, as I've just mentioned, Abby is our main character. She is our leading lady, and Abby is a small girl. I'm I'm not sure if it specifies how old Abby is in the book, but I saw her as about 12, maybe 13 years old. And Abby is a really sweet character. She is a really good character. She doesn't have much of a character arc, but I really enjoyed reading her journey through this novel. She does have a mother and a father who are mentioned in this book, but they aren't the main focus of this story. So while Abby is in school, she comes across a locker that is numbered 751. She sees all this blood and hears all this banging coming from within the locker itself. And when she goes to investigate this, she opens it up and she finds that there is this dead girl in this locker with her eyes gouged out. And more scary than that, this girl is still alive. And she moves around. She doesn't say anything, but Abby can clearly see her. And it appears that no one else around her can see this girl that's in this locker. We do find out later on that there's this legend going around the school, mostly spread around by the students, that there was a girl that died in that locker, or maybe the legend of locker 751. You get the idea with that. And after this, Abby is telling her parents and the principal and anyone and everyone that will listen to her that she has seen this girl, and they keep on telling Abby that there is no girl, there's no one there, there's no blood, there is nothing to be concerned about. And as you can imagine, Abby is at a loss. She's very confused at this point to see what's actually happening, and she quickly discovers that she has the ability to see the dead. But here's the kind of twist to it. The dead don't want to see Abby. They don't want anything to do with her. They know that she can see them, but they kind of ignore her at every possible opportunity. They do not talk to her. They just ignore her and just go about their daily lives. So Abby knows that this ability of hers is very unusual, and she doesn't want to worry her dad and her family, and she just basically wants to forget that it ever happened and move on with her life. And in order to do this, both her and her parents both decide that the best way for Abby to relax is to spend some quality time with her aunt and uncle, who she's had trips with in the past. She's really enjoyed going up there, and she's always remembering different experiences and memories that she had with both her uncle and aunt, who are very nice, sweet people. But we soon discover through Abby's father that her uncle was recently a teacher, and he was dismissed very recently. And this resulted in not just her uncle losing his position as a teacher, but he also lost his longtime companion, and they have been separated. So Abby's aunt is referenced in this book and mentioned a lot, but we never really physically encounter her within this book. And before Abby goes to visit her uncle, it is very briefly touched on by Abby's mother that the reason why her uncle was sacked from his position as a teacher was that maybe he was getting a bit too friendly with the students. And I was thinking, oh God, it's not going to go there, is it? Don't worry, guys. It never mentions any forms of child abuse or child endangerment, so no worries there. So when Abby goes and visits her uncle, he welcomes her with open arms. He is very nice and friendly, and they both agree that they are going to spend their time redecorating the house. But he quickly tells Abby that he has a temporary job at a bookshop, and he spends a lot of his time in that shop, and we are given the impression that maybe he's trying to avoid either being with Abby or being in the house, or maybe both. And there is a lot of mystery surrounding her uncle. we also discover, or Abby discovers, that there are these mysterious children living in her uncle's basement who are obviously deceased. Their throats are cut and they are basically wandering around down there like wild animals. And this leaves Abby with the question, did her uncle kill any kids or anybody? And also, when Abby encounters all these deceased people, or these ghosts, or whatever you want to refer to them to as, did they actually die in the location that she sees them in, or is there another connection why they are there? So Abby researches about why these ghosts are in her uncle's basement, and also she wants to investigate her uncle as a whole, because we find out that there is I think there is an island near this town where her uncle lives, and there was a camp there and some camp counselors were murdered. And yes, I know Friday the 13th was mentioned, and there was a girl called Claire who was reportedly seen with Abby's uncle shortly before she disappeared. So there's all this mystery and intrigue throughout this novel, and both Abby and us as the reader, as we are going through this journey, we are trying to uncover what actually happened and find out what's going on. There were loads of twists and turns in this book. As we are reading it, we're actually like, oh, that person is guilty, or this actually happened, or that actually happened over there, and we are so convinced that events happened in a specific way, and then the book kind of like turns itself upside down and we are led to believe something completely different. As I said, this book can be a bit gory, especially in the descriptions of the ghosts. The ghosts cannot actually physically harm Abby. They can interact with her. They do acknowledge that she can actually see them and vice versa, but she is never really in any physical danger. But it can be really, really frightening and gory, especially if you are very, very new to horror. But this book is really, really well written. It is a pleasure to read this. It wasn't complicated to understand whatsoever. And all the characters were really, really amazing. And I had a blast reading this book. So what I liked about this book is, if I haven't made it clear, is the characters. I like Abby as a character. As I mentioned at the start of it, I'm not sure what her age is, but I presume Abby is on the cover of this book, and I presume that she is about 12 or 13 years of age. But the way that she acts and talks and interacts with people throughout this book, she acts more mature for her age. So I saw her as about a 16-year-old girl rather than a 12-year-old. But that was never a problem or an issue for me. I like also Abby's uncle, because as Abby is investigating him and we are trying to figure out what actually happens or is going on with Abby's uncle, both Abby and the reader are kind of left confused and by the fact that, oh, did he do this or didn't he do it, or he's a really, really nice person, he couldn't possibly have done it. Oh no, he's guilty as sin, he's definitely done it. So there's that conflict within both, not just Abby, but the reader. And what I disliked about this book was not really a lot. Yes, I could nitpick this book to bits and say, oh, I didn't like what that character said, or I didn't like this scene, or I didn't like that part. I'm not going to do that here, guys. This book was extremely fun and enjoyable, if you didn't get that impression from me already. But if I had to give one dislike, that would probably go to the ending. It was a really, really, really good ending, guys, don't get me wrong, but it kind of left me on a cliffhanger. I strongly believe that Sonora could easily do a sequel to this, as it was kind of left open to a possible sequel. And I've got a title as well. It could be called Seeing Things Again. So I'm not sure if that's a good title. I will let you and Sonora be the judge on that. But the ending was satisfying, but it was open to new possibilities. So in conclusion, if you are new to horror, if you want to read something different outside the mainstream horror writers such as Stephen King, Clive Barker, Sean Hudson, and anyone else that pops into your mind, and you want to read something a bit more different and something from someone that isn't as mainstream as the people I've just mentioned, I would highly recommend that you read this book. It's something that both horror fans and people that are trying to get into something that's horror but maybe not really full-blown gory and scary, I strongly feel that this book will satisfy everyone. So what I'm going to rate Seeing Things by Sonora Taylor is a 5 stars out of 5. This book was an absolute joy and pleasure to read, and I cannot wait to go back and reread it at a later date. And also I cannot wait to read Someone to Share My Nightmares, and also to read other stuff by this amazing author. I did actually email her pretty much after I finished the book, is that I basically said to her that she has got a new fan, so I am a big fan of her work now, despite the fact that I've only read one book by her. So that's it guys, that is my review on Seeing Things by Sonora Taylor. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment down below, let me know, have you read this book? Have I maybe intrigued you to pick it up and give Sonora a chance? As I said, I will have a bunch of contact information down in the description, so you can easily reach out to Sonora and contact her and message her and all that great stuff. And this book can be found both on Goodreads and on Amazon, both in a Kindle copy, well, obviously, and a physical copy, whether it's paperback. I'm pretty sure you can get it in the hardback version as well. So if you have enjoyed this video as a whole, please consider subscribing to my channel, and if you do, please click on that bell as it will remind you whenever I upload videos, which are every Monday and Friday. I will have a link down below to my Goodreads account in case you want to follow me on Goodreads and see what I'm currently reading, or message me or whatever. And with all that out of the way, have a great day, read some awesome books, and I will see you all in my next video.